Along these lines, today's lecture is the best ways to give criticism. The best ways to give criticism. Most people have a problem with being criticized. They take it personally. They'll dwell on it. They'll go home and be miserable. And very often people become defensive. We're talking most people, not everyone. Depends how the criticism was given, who gave it, who heard it being given. But people become quite upset when they're criticized. Of course, the context is a factor. If they're alone, it's easier to take than if it's in front of others. In front of others, it could be a sense of loss of face. In our survey, we found that without exception, everyone prefers to have it in private. So who's the recipient of the criticism? Could be a loved one, a family member, a child, a brother, a sister, a wife, a husband, a father, a mother, son, daughter. A coworker, could be a supervisor or somebody at your same level, or a stranger. So the recipient goes across the board. It could be a stranger. You could say, hey, you may have a problem that they parked where they did, took your parking spot where you normally parking. And you don't know the person. And so how you approach that person, what's the best way to tell them that they shouldn't park there, you don't want them to park there, they made a mistake in parking there, however you're going to present it. We're going to go into the best way to do this. The goal of our lecture is how do we do this in such a way that we help avoid causing pain to somebody else, which then comes back on us, and defensiveness where the person isn't really hearing what you're saying. All they hear is, oh, you're telling me I did something wrong. You're criticizing me. You're putting me down. You're disrespecting me. They could hear it through that filter. They're not hearing all you wanted to say is, please move this from here to here. That person could be hearing, hey, who are you to tell me? I always park there. I mean, you park over there. I mean, there's so many things the person's hearing. They might be hearing all the criticism they got from their mother and father throughout their lives. Everybody's telling me I do it wrong, I do it wrong. And now you're telling me I did it wrong, so they're not even reacting to your criticism. They're reacting to the criticism they just got from their boss, from their husband, their wife, that they have from their parents all their lives. And so they're not hearing you. Just not hearing what you have to say. So the goal of today's class is to learn how to do it in a way where the person has a good chance of hearing you. A good chance, or better chance of hearing. Now, what is it that we're criticizing? It could be a behavior. I didn't like it when you did that. I didn't like it when you put the sugar over there. I didn't like it when you put the cup over there. Behavior or an attitude. You've got a negative attitude. You've got a bad attitude. You have an attitude that you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder, so that you might have to criticize the attitude. So there's behaviors, there's attitude. And it can be done in a direct way or an indirect way. You can say, look, I asked you to put this cup over here. You didn't do it. An indirect way would be, most people, when you tell them where to put those cups, they don't do it. You're not talking about him. It's indirect. You're kind of giving them a message. Most people won't do that when I ask them. So that's an indirect way. The idea is, to the extent you can make it where the person doesn't take it personally, is better. Really, if you really want the person to hear it and you want change, you're giving the criticism because you want change, either an attitude or behavior. If you want it heard, it's better if they don't take it personally. You just want it this way, or you need it that way, or you feel hurt if they don't do it that way. You just want them to hear it, so it's best if they don't take it personally. So the indirect communication could be a good way to do it. And then, of course, there's constructive criticism, where you're doing it to help the person, as opposed to destructive, where you're just tearing them down. So we're going to be talking about situations where it's constructive criticism. And we see like a rebellious attitude. A parent tells their child, do not be texting on your phone when you cross the street. How many times have I told you, don't do that. I don't want you to get run over. It's constructive. You don't want your child to get run over. And the child, if the person is rebellious, might just, oh, sure, Mama, just go on doing it and cross the street. So that's just rebelliousness. So you don't want to, how do you reach this person to stop doing that? Just telling them that way doesn't do it.